India. Dream or nightmare? For the moment, all I want to do is lie on my hotel bed. I'm finding it difficult to get to grips with a totally different way of life here. I'm in shock, and haven't yet realized that it's a culture shock. Outside, on the rooftops of Delhi, India is celebrating its Independence Day. I need to regain my sense of composure. I want to leave Delhi as quickly as possible. A rickshaw driver with a broken taximeter brings me and my companion to the bus station. Like all drivers in this country, he constantly sounds the horn, the most important component of any Indian vehicle. Although he chases down any pedestrians who get in his way, he makes sure to leave the cows alone. I wake up next morning on the roof of an overcrowded bus. Before me, the Sivalik Hills, the southern foothills of the Indian Himalayas. Traveling on the roof is a popular alternative to the oppressive crush down below. But you have to watch out for the telegraph wires straddling the road. Some passengers have been decapitated by them. Noise, stink, and dirt. My first impression of Manali is a disappointment. I had imagined something more idyllic. It was, after all, one of India's most exclusive hill stations, alongside Darjeeling and Simla. These Himalayan resorts were founded during colonial times as a refuge for the British from the hot lowland summers. Indian clocks are different, slower according to most Europeans, and we do indeed arrive late at the bus station in Manali, which is no surprise given the incredible amounts of rain that pour down during the monsoon season. But some Indians seem to have an inferiority complex about this. However, and in this country delays are known as IST, Indian Standard Time, as a gentleman at the bus station explains, the depreciatory excuse for lateness. Manali was founded during the mid-19th century and was originally named after the forestry official Duff Dunbar for his services to the town's development. It has now become a popular holiday resort for India's rapidly growing middle and upper classes. Life is still very rural in the upper slopes of Manali, which can only be reached by narrow paths. The inhabitants profit materially from the fact that the town was discovered by European dropouts during the past few years. The Western influence has not only affected the young people's style of clothing, it has also led to sharp conflict between the generations. But for the time being, there is an uneasy peace, as it is the young people who are best able to do business with the Westerners. And their elders are of course proud of the extra income. Sweden, Japan, Italy. The home countries of the residents of this shared house. They have been living in Manali for years, on around $180 per month. Not very much for us, but a small fortune for the subsistence farmers here. The foreigners are a gold mine. Their rent alone is exorbitant for local conditions. The painter Heni is a very different character. He earns his living selling painted t-shirts to tourists. Originally from Algeria, he lived in France for many years, where he converted from Islam to Christianity. He represents an unusual synthesis of Orient and Occident, and his colorful and erotic pictures are full of Christian symbolism. Eroticism, sensuality, and Christianity, a novel combination. Here, for example, is Heni's vision of Eve, realizing for the first time that she is naked. This is St. Paul. In a vision, Jesus appears to him as an avenging God, his tongue in the form of a sword. The lamps surrounding the figure symbolize the different religions. The key belongs to the door of a dungeon in which Jesus keeps all the evildoers of the world locked away until the day of judgment. In this painting, Heni directs Christian symbolism against the dominant power of the Western world. He explains his meaning in detail.
Ça c'est Noé là. À cette époque-là, les gens c'était juste il n'y avait pas de loi. La loi n'existait pas sur la face de la terre parce que Moïse est venu bien après avec la loi. Et les hommes faisaient un peu ce qu'ils voulaient. Et le fruit de l'homme, quand Dieu a créé l'homme, il a vu que le fruit du cœur de l'homme c'était simplement de la méchanceté. Quand il allait au bout de l'homme, l'homme faisait que du mal, il s'entretuait, il se battait comme aujourd'hui, la même chose qu'aujourd'hui. Et donc, là, sur son bateau, il récupère, Dieu le Créateur décide de récupérer de sa création les animaux, et Noé et sa famille, et puis qu'il allait faire déverser une pluie pour enlever tous ces hommes. Ça ne lui plaisait pas du tout ce que les hommes faisaient sur la face de la Terre. Il voulait voir quelque chose de mieux que ça. Il voulait voir les hommes, de quoi ils étaient capables, mais il voulait quand même du positif, il voulait du beau, de l'amour. Et donc là, Noé, sur son bateau, en train de... Tout le monde se moquait de lui, il disait qu'est-ce qu'il fait, il est en train de construire un bateau, là, que c'est que cette grande baraque, là, sur le sec. Ça, c'est les âges anciens, les rois, dans l'histoire, qui ont passé auparavant, qui ont fait la même chose. C'est le même esprit. Ça n'a pas changé, c'est toujours le même esprit qui gouverne. Ça, c'est un corps qui souffle, là, écrasé, tué, battu. Le chevalier, là, c'est l'Amérique, ça représente l'Amérique d'aujourd'hui, ça, totalement. L'Amérique, ouais, d'aujourd'hui, parce que c'est aujourd'hui, c'est actuel. Je vis actuel. C'est la même époque, c'est la même chose, les gens s'entretuent, se battent. Donc on voit bien la tête, ça représente la tête de la liberté, la statue de la liberté, exactement. Ben, c'est la mort qui règne, là. C'est la mort qui est en train de gagner les êtres humains. Les hommes s'entretuent et puis la mort ramasse. Elle ramasse les âmes humaines. C'est le travail. La mort n'a pas de puissance, la mort. La mort, elle est sous la main de Christ. C'est-à-dire que c'est son travail. La mort a le travail de ramasser les âmes et de les emmener dans le Sheol ou le Hadès, ceux qui n'ont pas vécu dans l'amour de Dieu. Et après, ils auront une chance pour vivre dans l'amour de Dieu dans le prochain millénium, lorsque Christ viendra établir sur la face de la terre le royaume d'amour qui s'appelle le millénium. 1000 ans d'amour. 1000 ans il n'y aura plus de royaume d'hommes, de pensée d'hommes, de politique d'égoïsme où les gens se mangent l'un l'autre, alors qu'il serait très simple, avec tout l'argent qu'il y a, avec tout ce qu'il y a sur cette terre, il serait possible que tout le monde mange, tout le monde vit, pourrait faire complètement une autre société, mais une société d'amour.
Our Freedom Cafe is one of the places where Heaney sells his t-shirts. Its customers aren't interested in a society of love, but in the freedom to smoke undisturbed the marijuana that grows in this area, like daisies on a European lawn. But the freedom in the Freedom Cafe is now subject to restrictions, because of political pressure from abroad, I am told. There are often raids, but even these are also a lucrative source of income, as the police demand bribes, and in roundabout ways the confiscated substances end up in the hands of the locals once again. For marijuana is, after all, an ancient plant, and its use in India is as traditional as that of hops and malt in the West. The smokers are a little nervous in front of the camera because of the raids. But at night, all caution is forgotten. After a few days in Boomtown, Manali, we have recovered from our shock and decide to take the road along the old caravan route after all. We're on our way to Martselang, a plateau region some 16,500 feet above sea level, and home to a nomad people, the Karnak, who live largely independently and according to their own customs. Once over the first pass, Rotang La, at over 13,500 feet, we experience a quite different landscape. For the pass is a meteorological divide. The southwesterly monsoon from the Indian subcontinent rains on the mountain's southern slopes, but hardly at all beyond Rotang La. The road takes us across several passes. One of them, Taglang La, at almost 17,500 feet, is the world's second highest. After 2 days, we leave the official road. Martselang lies in the Tibetan highlands, but on Indian territory. And the Karnak live in one of the valleys of the western edges of the plateau. by evening, we still haven't found them, and we decide to set up camp somewhere by the river. But next morning, the Karnak find us. We are surrounded by a group of friendly men who do not hesitate to satisfy their curiosity by giving me a close inspection. They have come here on small, strong horses. In the next town, people pay them 15 to 20,000 rupees for horses like these. This old man has measured my thighs, wrists, and upper arms. All of them far too narrow, the herdsmen soon agree. They aren't here because of us. For days now, they have ridden the 4.5 miles from their riverside camp to wait for their religious leader, Jigme Pema Vakchen, the 12th Gilwang Drukpa. Today a truck rumbles up, the advance guard of the Drukpa, or in English, the dragon. Everyone's on their feet at once. And finally, we too hear that the Drukpa will arrive today. Our new acquaintances want to make sure that their religious leader doesn't miss the inconspicuous branch in the asphalt road. They ask us to drive back there to show him the way. And we are happy to oblige. In the late afternoon, the 12th Gilwang Drukpa finally arrives. The men stand in reverent expectation. The Drukpa is head of the Kagyupa order, a 1,000-year-old school of Tibetan Buddhism. He is the 12th reincarnation of the revered Buddhist teachers Naropa and Gampopa. His order became famous through the work of Mapa, who in the 11th century translated the original Indian Buddhist texts into Tibetan. Mapa's work was so exact that scholars were later able to reconstruct the partially lost original scriptures. The herdsmen are in no hurry to begin their greeting ceremony. Everything they do is marked by calmness and composure. The Drukpa has never been to Tibet, the home of the Kagyupa order, but the Karnak see this differently. According to them, he has often lived in Tibet, and only in his last lifetime had to flee from the Chinese. That was in 1959. A year later, the Drukpa died in a refugee camp at the young age of 29. In 1963, he was reborn in India. The Kagyupa order is known as the Red Hats, in contrast to the Yellow Hats, headed by the Dalai Lama. The greeting ceremony is coming to an end. According to tradition, long, narrow pieces of cloth are given away as an expression of purity of thought, reverence, and goodwill. Next morning, we follow the Drukpa to the nomad camp, where his advance guard has put up several large tents. In the largest tent, our hosts await the start of the ceremony of the 6 jewels, an ancient ritual that takes place only rarely. We are not permitted to film the ceremony, but are told that during it, the Drukpa used 6 artifacts from the 11th century that encouraged deeper insight. It is said that the very sight of these holy objects can release one from the painful cycle of death and rebirth. The ritual artifacts include a bone crown, an apron of bones, and a skull. On his head, the Drukpa wears a black crown of hair, it too from the 11th century. The continual repetition of the same syllables is intended to induce a trance state prior to the ritual. Outside in the camp, signs of a deep religiosity are everywhere. Prayer wheels and prayer beads. The rotation of a bead corresponds to the recitation of a prayer formula. Up here, you have to look very closely for signs of Western civilization. The oven, for example, is a tar barrel. The nomads got it from the newly built road where the workers had left it. The Karnak can now buy food and groceries at the road, with money from the sale of their valuable Pashima wool. Their life has become a little more comfortable.
Ich kann nicht mehr. Nein. Ja, verstehe alles.
A woman invites Hato and me into her tent. A change for our hostess, and very enjoyable for us. In pride of place, an altar with pictures of the Gilwang Drukpa. Our communication is unfortunately limited to gestures.
Ich verstehe es nicht.
Nee, ich auch nicht.
Was für die Kleine nehmen wir, aber ich. Für das Kleine?
I try not to show that I am suffering from headaches, nausea, and lack of sleep due to the high altitude. On our way back, we stop over in Manikaran, a mountain village at around 56 miles southeast of Manali, in the Parvati Valley. Pleasantly situated at around 5,500 feet, Manikaran is a popular destination for Indian pilgrims, who come here because of the holy springs. The village is dominated by a large temple, straddling both banks of the river Parvati. The complex was built by the Sikhs, and its central feature is the holy spring water. In the almost windowless ground floor are a number of freely accessible pools. The hot water aids relaxation and is said to have strong healing powers. These women are baking chapatis, a common form of bread throughout India. The water is also used for cooking and baking. The food is distributed in the largest room of the temple, the dining hall. Whether Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, or Hindu, the Sikhs feed everyone, and even provide guest rooms free of charge. The custom derives from an old legend about Guru Nanak, the founder of the Sikh religion at the end of the 15th century. The Sikh tell how Guru Nanak came to Manikaran on one of his extensive missionary journeys. One of his followers, Mardana, was very hungry when they arrived, but was only given a few raw grains by the villagers. But Guru Nanak knew what to do. He ordered a stone to be pushed aside, which revealed a hitherto unknown hot spring. At his guru's bidding, Mardana threw the grains into the water, gave a promise to give away one chapati in the name of God, and the raw grains became freshly baked chapatis. But one can't rely on miracles nowadays. The charity has to be financed. Money is collected in the temple, where the Sikhs are called upon to make donations, and they do so generously, to deafeningly loud music. This is Baba Hanuman. For the Hindu residents of Manikaran, a holy man. The charitable activities of the Sikh temple? For Baba Hanuman, pure hypocrisy. Because of the violent Sikh independence movement in the Punjab.
It is because this state Punjab is a very rich state, and in India we have many states, some are very poor. They haven't even water to drink. States like Orissa, the people are savage, they don't have even clothes to live. The weather is so hostile, it's dry, so they don't have money. So the government has a special bursar from the central government where we donate little bits of money to these poor states to rehabilitate the people. But the big states must pay, states like Kashmir, states like Punjab. So they wouldn't want to contribute. They didn't want to contribute the money, so they stay like this and they want to be separatists within the Indian government. So this is affecting the whole constitution of our country. And they foster these small splinter groups of armed brigands who rob banks and gradually become big and big with the money they buy. And they go on killing innocent people. This is not terrorism. To shoot people down on the road like you kill sheep is not terrorism. Terrorism is like finding out the people who are responsible, who are against you, and eliminating these people, not eliminating your own kind. They're not taking the war into Delhi and killing the big bosses. They're eliminating their poor people, so we sit and watch. What is this? This is not terrorism. This is insanity.
Right next to the Sikh temple complex stands a small Hindu temple. For the village's inhabitants, the center of their lives. A supernatural power is said to reside here that can heal disease, cure infertility, or drive out evil spirits. The temple is dedicated to Shiva, the most important Hindu god, alongside Brahma and Vishnu. The Sikhs are more than merely tolerated in the Hindu place of worship, for the holy water serving the Sikh temple comes from here, the spring in the center of the Shiva temple. The Sikhs say that the Hindus took away their spring. A lie, say the Hindus. In the temple, we hear another version of how the holy spring came into being. 11,000 years ago, Shiva and his wife Parvati took on human form here in the Parvati Valley. One day, while the two were bathing in the river, a Naga, a serpent demon, stole Parvati's earrings. After searching far and wide, Shiva found the snake in the underworld and upbraided it for the theft. The Naga replied with such a hefty snort that the earrings hidden in its nostrils were hurled up through the ground, where Parvati found them again, to her great delight. And to this day, hot water and steam flow up through the crack in the earth. A sadhu, one of India's many wandering ascetics. This sadhu is convinced that the holy water of the Shiva temple healed his leprosy. He fills his pipe with marijuana. Just as in Manali, the plant grows everywhere around here.
Marijuana is a very old plant. It's existed for many years and many civilizations have passed through the culture of marijuana. And it has been known for its qualities of making man more peaceful internally and more in harmony with his environment and his place. So this brings out a peaceful type of person that is productive for nature, meaning the potatoes we eat become more hygienic, the water we drink become more clean, the air we breathe become more clean, because these ideas are propagated by marijuana, because it gives you the same space that people in India call meditation. It is just that space.
The sadhu's most important deity is Shiva, the ascetic with magical powers, and Shiva's favorite herb is hemp, or marijuana. According to Hindu belief, Shiva is the destroyer and recreator of whole worlds through a cosmic dance. In deep meditation, his third eye looks within, but nothing can withstand its deadly gaze if he directs it outwards. Americans or Europeans often visit the Shiva temple, an intercultural meeting place where marijuana can be consumed without fear of police raids. The sadhus reject synthetic drugs that only cover up problems. Baba Hanuman, the village holy man, also has a low opinion of them.
Like in America, you find designer drugs. If you feel low today, you take a pill, you feel high in the evening. You want to see pink elephants, you take another one, you see pink elephants. And these are consumer products, injurious totally to the health, chemically. They don't ask the people's opinion about these things, do they? In fact, they press the law on the plant that comes out from nature that has been worshipped for generations by civilizations, very antique civilizations. They could be traced. It's not legalization. It should have been never made illegal. There have been many movies made during the 60s, Blow Up, Zabriskie Point, all drug-related, marijuana-related things, bringing out the original brutality of society against a small section of Pacific young people striving for honest survival with nature. Now there is no answer. You cannot make criminals out of young people, juvenile people. Where is the comprehension? Where is the faith in the state, in the government? Where is the cooperation? Where is the understanding? Fear is not that state. This is a fear state.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. I'm awfully sorry. I'm terribly sorry. That's all right. That's quite all right. 5. Excuse me. Which is the way to Washington? Pardon me. Excuse me. I beg your pardon. I'm sorry. 7. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sorry I kept you waiting. I'm sorry I can't help you. I'm sorry I inconvenienced you. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. I'm sorry to have troubled you. I'm sorry to delay you. I'm sorry to be late. I'm sorry that my explanations weren't very clear. 8. To apologize is an apology. I apologize. I must apologize. I must apologize to you. I must apologize for what I said. I must apologize for what I did. I'm awfully sorry. I'm terribly sorry. That's all right. That's quite all right. That's quite all right. That's quite all right. That's quite all right. That's quite.
India. Dream or nightmare? What I have experienced doesn't fit in with my habitual way of thinking, but it has opened my eyes a little to other ways of living, to other ways of seeing things.